Tonight, our legal dream team weighing in on litigation surrounding some of the top stories across the country. We take a look in New York, where U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara is digging deeper and deeper into Governor Cuomo's closing of the commission that he formed to fight corruption. Why is Bharara so motivated? We'll discuss. And there was debate over prayer in schools. Now, a case out of Greece, New York, gaining national attention over prayer at town meetings. U.S. Supreme Court says it's legal, but on one condition. Plus, Clippers owner Donald Sterling, as you know, he is reportedly putting together a team of his own dream attorneys here to take on the NBA. The question is, does he have a case, and can the NBA legally force him out of his ownership? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us this Wednesday evening, May 7th. And tonight we start here with a look at a case we've talked about more in the political context, but tonight we'll look at it in the legal one, and that is exactly why is U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara and some of the folks close to him in the U.S. Attorney's Office pushing so hard to get to the bottom of the corruption probe in Albany, and specifically the dissolution of the Moreland Commission. Bharara boosting his probe into the closure of Andrew Cuomo's Moreland Commission after the governor abruptly shut it down back in March. It was almost a footnote in the budget deal that came out. Now, it was announced that federal prosecutors in Manhattan have issued a grand jury subpoena seeking emails, text messages, other records from all of the members of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Subpoena, quote, seeks documents pertaining to the formation of Governor Cuomo's Anti-Corruption Moreland Commission, and it also sought documents about how the panel was run, overseen, and closed. That's according to people briefed on the matter. And the Times went on to say that the issuance of the subpoena and new details about the recent meetings of those commission employees and prosecutors when it comes to Bharara's office provided the strongest suggestion yet that the criminal investigation may in fact be examining allegations of interference from the governor's office with the commission. Moreover, the governor has said that he could not have interfered with the commission, saying that the Moreland Commission was my commission, my subpoena power, my Moreland Commission. I can appoint it, I can disband it, I appoint you, I can unappoint you tomorrow. So interference, it's my commission, I can't interfere with it because it is mine, controlled by me. All right, well, with that here, we are going to get into this, and we're looking into potential reasons as to why both the governor shut it down, but also more interesting to me, why Mr. Bharara is so hell-bent on getting to the bottom of this thing. And I want to bring in our panel to get into that. Mayo Bartlett, attorney, former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at Westchester County's DA office, and I should say a trooper, came in on crutches, although he's trying to get sympathy from the other two guys here. Mark Furnish, professor at Brooklyn Law. He's argued before the highest court in the land. And Bill Aaronwald, criminal defense attorney, former chief of the criminal division of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. Gentlemen, welcome all. Okay, Bill, I'm going to start with you. Listen, by definition, you got to have a healthy ego here to be the U.S. attorney. But at the same end, everybody picks their battles, whatever line of work you want. He's directly, Mr. Bharara that is, taking on the governor on this one. I would think for a smart guy, and he's universally considered to be a bright guy, Bharara wouldn't do this unless he thought at the end of the investigation there was something there. Am I right?
Well, one would hope so. I mean, I think that...
You don't go on a fishing expedition if the governor, especially Governor Cuomo, is on the other end of the line unless you think you got something.
Not necessarily. I mean, it all depends what his political agenda is. I mean, if you're the U.S. attorney who is basically a presidential appointee and whose term will be up when this president's term is up, has aspirations of maybe being the governor of the state of New York or running for some United States Senate seat in the future, I mean, then this is the kind of thing that gets his headlines, and it's the kind of thing which
Fair enough,
can
but
serve
you may
to
not want
embarrass
to pick the governor as an enemy if that's your ambitions.
Well, that's true, but by the same token, I mean, look, he does have a right to investigate allegations that the governor disbanded the commission in order to obstruct the commission's ability to root out political corruption, maybe within the Democratic Party. He has a right to do that.
I get it, but here's the question that I don't know that you would. From the outside, it did look odd that the very commission the governor set up all of a sudden was buried in like a footnote in the state budget that came out at 11:30 at night, that all of a sudden it was going away. It didn't look or didn't smell right. But at the same end, for the U.S. attorney to get involved, Help us out here. What must he have heard, let alone known, to say, time out here? This isn't going to just disappear. I got questions that I want to answer.
Well, it's an interesting question because the Moreland Commission does not have any prosecutorial power.
Right.
It basically is an investigative body. It basically investigates and then reports. If it finds evidence of criminality, and then what it does is it issues that in a report, and then the appropriate prosecuting agency would take charge of it and file the criminal charges. So in this case, one can only assume that there was some reason why the governor, having appointed the commission, became disillusioned or disappointed with the work that it was doing and decided to disband it. Whether there's more to it than that, we don't know, and the only way we will know is if there's some inquiry or investigation to determine whether or not the governor sought to interfere with the ability of the commission he appointed to do the work he appointed it to do.
Let me, Mark, do the cynical observation on this. And you guys come from, you have both sides in this, all of you backgrounds as prosecutors. But
not me.
Not you. I'll leave you out of it. But here's the point, which is the commission was set up, and the governor, to great fanfare, said, you know, we got a lot of rotten folks there in Denmark, in effect, pointing to Albany. But a lot of people thought, hey, this thing's a hammer. And if you cross the governor here, there's a commission that's set up already, maybe not with subpoena power, but a commission nonetheless that was going to get to the bottom of stuff. And for it just to go away in an election year, in a budget item, that it didn't look right. What's the significance of subpoenas being issued today?
Well, the whole thing smells funny. There's an appearance of impropriety with it, that the commission was disbanded, and it looks like a quid pro quo for the passage of the budget. So it doesn't look good. What I think is happening practically, and I don't have any inside information, is that the feds are going to take over the investigations that were dropped by the disbanding of the Moreland Commission, and this is an outgrowth of that, to see how and why the commission was disbanded and why these cases
which
were
investigations moved forward and which ones went away. What was the rhyme and reason, right?
But here's the thing. Any federal prosecutor can investigate anything they want. There's a difference between investigation and prosecution, and as Bill has discussed on the show before, the Supreme Court has significantly curtailed federal prosecutors' ability to bring political corruption cases. Basically, and I'm oversimplifying, they have to involve bribes or kickbacks. So merely, let's assume everything that's being reported is true and that Cuomo somehow did tamper with the work of this commission. I'm not so sure that would rise to any federally prosecutable offense in the absence of any bribes or kickbacks.
Well, to that point, is the governor right when he said, I can't interfere with it because it's mine? I created it. Basically, it's my baby. I'll do whatever I want with it. On the face of it, Bharara, you're wrong because I can't interfere with something that I have control over.
Well, we're assuming that the governor is the target number one. There already is this corridor of corruption case that's going on in White Plains in the Southern District. The other thing, though...
Well, the governor sure reacted like he was the target of it.
Well, sometimes when you start investigations, they don't always lead where you expect them to lead, and sometimes they get a little closer to home than one might like, and you may not even be aware of that. But the other issue is it makes you wonder, why do you have a commission like this set up in the first place? Why would the governor start a commission like this, have it around for such a short period of time, and then disband it? And if the commission has no enforcement ability, it makes you wonder even more why that commission actually exists. And one of the issues with these types of commissions is that they can be used exactly as a political sword. You can use them to bring down your enemies. You can also use them to protect your friends. So that may well be why these subpoenas are being issued right now. But the other thing is that the federal government, generally the federal prosecutors, would not get into a matter like this unless they thought it would ultimately lead someplace.
Well, that's my point, right? Which is, no matter what it is, and please, U.S. Attorney, you're not taking on a popular governor in New York and a former Attorney General here, unless you think at the end there's something there. And I understand that he can do whatever he wants. This isn't a question of legality, but of practicality. Why do this unless there's something at the other end of this?
I think there are two issues, and they may not really be related. I mean, the one issue, the obvious issue, is what is Preet Bharara looking at? What is he looking for? What has he heard that has resulted in him opening up this investigation? The other issue is, why did the governor, having appointed the commission, suddenly disband it? Now, if you want to be a cynic, you can say that, you know, just like Mark and Mayo know that there are such things as runaway grand juries. You can have a runaway commission. Once you appoint it, you know, it's running off on its own. It no longer is listening to what you want it to do.
Warren, right?
Yeah, so basically.
But the governor clearly, though, said, Bill, that this is my commission. I can do with it whatever I want. So for him to say that it's run amok, contradicts the very thing he just said, that I own the thing.
I'm not saying that he has said it's run amok. I'm saying if he appointed the commission with a specific objective in mind, for example, being a cynic, go after the Republicans. Okay, let's find the corruption in the Republican Party.
By the way, the cynic actually is go after the Democrats.
Well,
because he's trying to control this delicate balance in Albany here, where you've got like the trifecta, nobody really controlling the state Senate.
Whatever he wants them to go after, once they're appointed and they now have their own head of steam, they decide, look, we don't really care what he wants us to look at. We're going to look at the broad picture. And that may have been something that the governor wasn't happy with. And he said, look, I appointed you. You're not doing what I asked you to do. I'm going to unappoint you. And that's where it goes. We don't know.
I will say, it's from the political perspective right now, there's very few gigs that are better if you want to have a political meteoric rise than being, if you've got ambition and you're willing to break some knuckles here, to be the Attorney General in New York, and it looks like being the U.S. Attorney, at least for this district, because unlike being the controller or being some of the other statewide offices, you actually get to decide what you want. You got a lot of unilateral power here, especially if you want to go after Wall Street folks, you want to do a lot of other things. It is really a great power base, isn't it?
Well, the only thing about that, though, is that it comes with its own peril, because Eliot Spitzer used his position to do a lot of things that made him very unpopular, didn't necessarily make him a lot of... It got him elected, but once you get elected, then that's just the beginning.
That's his own problem. But my point was, he went from, he got 70% of the vote here. He went from Attorney General, Sheriff of Wall Street, whatever you want to call himself, to where he was. Andrew Cuomo, same exact thing. If you use it, and it seems like Mr. Schneiderman's been a little bit curtailed by this current governor as to what he can or can't do, but that all said, it is an interesting launching point if you have political ambitions. And now I'm hearing from some folks, maybe even the U.S. Attorney's post as well, if you want to.
Well, Preet Bharara is nothing if not a politician. He's not a U.S. attorney who has a
At least from folks I know, a man with political ambitions himself.
He's not a guy who tries cases, and he's announced that cleaning up New York politics, he's called it a cesspool, he's used very provocative language. He's made it clear he wants to clean it up. It's one thing to go after a Malcolm Smith, something else entirely to go after a fellow Democrat who's a national star. I don't see what the payoff is. I don't see what the upside
unless
for
there's
him
something
is
there, right?
Well, there may be conversations. I'm sure lots of meetings going on in this corridor of corruption case, and you just don't know what else is out there. And sometimes when you're the target, you may be willing to talk about other things that you know.
And just as I know, for anyone who thinks that politics don't play when you're talking about DAs or attorney generals or whatever else, they should wake up, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. When we come back, everyone, we're going to stay in New York, but it was a New York case that has made national headlines here and could possibly set some very fascinating precedents. Case out of upstate New York went before the highest court of the land, and the question is, should open prayers be allowed at town meetings? Well, the justices ruled yes. Why they say it's legal when we come back.